Ladies and gents, good afternoon and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. I am Lucy Davis and as always, I am your host for today. Now, I'm really happy, really ecstatic to have this beautiful soul with me today for many reasons. Adi Jackson is a good friend of mine. We collaborated for Freedom for the Children through 2020, where we were raising the consciousness around what was going on with the children globally. Since then, we've become good friends. We've been to many, many marches together. We've got extremely, extremely similar passions. And some of you most recently will have heard that Adi actually ended up in hospital at the start of 2022 with what I call the Rona. Obviously, we need to be careful of the language, so please just go with us if you're not too sure what's going on today. So Adi unfortunately ended up in hospital with this early in January. Thankfully, he is with us now and he's managed to get through the scenario, and although he's well and he's on the road to recovery, there might be times where he just needs to take a little bit of time to get his breath or cough or whatever. So please just bear with us. I appreciate it might be frustrating for some of you, but please, patience is really important at these times. And the reason that Adi has agreed to jump on today is because on Saturday, some of you would have seen that I spoke in Oxford at a rally whereby, you know, people were speaking about certain subjects, and I chose to raise the consciousness on what was going on. And I asked this beautiful soul to stand up and just give a little bit of his story, which I think is going to be a game changer. Ladies and gents, I really would like this video to be a video whereby you can share it with anybody you know if they ever find themselves having to go into hospital, where we can just raise the consciousness on certain things. So first and foremost, welcome, gorgeous.
So many compliments of it.
It's
only 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. So first and foremost, I think everybody would want to know before we go into your story, babe, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm getting there. You know, sometimes I get quite tired and go to bed in the afternoon, and if I do something, I can get out of breath quite easily. Just need to sit down. Even in the shower, sometimes I feel a bit faint. So it's taken a lot longer than I expected, because, you know, once I had a bit of my leg strength back, I thought, here we go, I'll be fine. But it is dragging on a bit, which is annoying. And also my sleeping pattern is all messed up. I keep waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, exactly like I did in the hospital, 5 o'clock, you know, I could keep waking up. So yeah.
What was the reason for waking up at those times in a hospital? Were they testing you, checking you or something? Or
well, they would check me, excuse me, they would check me at very specific sort of times. So 6 o'clock in the morning, between 6 and 7, that they'll do you know, what do you call it, the
blood pressure,
that's it. And they would give me the injection, which is the watch my words, haven't I? No, it's the blood thinners. I can't remember the name of it. So I had the blood thinners and I had to carry that on a week after I got out of hospital as well.
Okay, interesting.
So
okay.
So yeah, thank you for the introduction, and
welcome. Well deserved, man. we weren't sure you were going to make it for a little while, you know, because we you know.
Well, I might not have done had I not carried out the certain procedures that I did whilst I was in there. So yeah, that's why, you know, Lucy is giving me this chance to share my story. You know, as you're aware, that's like you say, we've been on the marches from August the 22nd, 2020, right up until last Saturday, which was fantastic, by the way. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to speak. And yeah, it was a great day. But yeah, I started questioning this whole narrative in May 2020. I fell for it. I even washed my shopping. I'm happy to admit that we can change our minds. That's not a problem. You can change your minds at any point in this journey. I even wore a mask for the first couple of weeks, and then throughout April 2020, I decided not to watch the news anymore because it wasn't making any sense. And then like sort of the beginning of like late April or early May, they started saying control the virus, control the, can I say that, the V word? You know,
on some people's channel, yes, mate.
Yeah.
On mine, probably not.
Okay.
Control
the virus. So I was like, hold on a minute, how can you do that? How can you do that? So started in my own mind, just not trusting any of it. And then my missus shared a video with me with David Icke, can I say his name?
Yeah.
And Brian Rose, which got banned on YouTube. And she changed her mind, so I decided to watch it. And I said to her, you can't change your mind by watching a YouTube video. 3 hours later, I was 120 miles an hour down the rabbit hole, and by the end of that week, I was I completely changed my whole worldview on everything. In a week, I was like, I found out stuff for myself. That's like I kind of got the information, and when at the time you could still find stuff on Google. I didn't know about DuckDuckGo or anything. So
I've got something to say on this, because this is really interesting, and I think it's a great perspective. So in March, April 2020, you're like completely believing what's going on. You have this beautiful shift. Fast forward to December, January 2021, 2022, and all of a sudden this thing that you decided not to believe in, you've been struck with.
Yeah,
so that's quite a big polarity, and a lot of people will be sat there going, oh well, that's your karma, you know. So I think it's really important that we speak about that, because you were and you are so certain of your belief system in this, and you know, we know that there's a massive part of the population that are in the same mindset as you, but there's also a massive part of the population that are not. They don't see what we have chosen to see this lifetime. So explain to me what happened, babe. And I just looked at the clock and it's 2:20, no surprise, because I'm all about the twos. So explain to me what happened in December when you started to get sick. When did it start?
So I had the sniffles. I could feel a cold coming on the 23rd, and like you say, I'm skeptical of the Rona. Still am, to be honest, because it's never been isolated.
I am too, and I've had it apparently. So
yeah, well, there are things, influenza A, B, and all sorts of stuff. Pneumonia, which is what I believe that I had pneumonia. But I'll share the diagnosis a bit later on. But yeah, so I got the sniffles on the 23rd. Obviously, it was over Christmas. Due to family members wanting to meet up and going to other families, I decided actually not to go to my missus's parents' house on the 25th. So I actually stayed, and you know, I would have gone and just sat there in the corner kind of thing, but I decided not to. And I was fine on Boxing Day. I was fine on the 27th. I had kind of family down the 26th, and then my own family's Christmas Day in my house on the 27th. And then on the 28th, throughout the day, I went to work that day. Last time I went to work. And in the evening, all of a sudden, I just, this wave of like tiredness. I was like, oh, around about 8 o'clock. Went to bed early, which I never go to bed at that time, and woke up the next day, and I was weak, shivering, cold, and all I can describe between the 28th and the 6th is just a roller coaster of different pain, headaches, shivering, cold sweats. I'd have a shower and I'd get wet again, like for cold sweats.
So what you've just said there, babe, it made me think very much so that it was like flu symptoms initially. Is that fair to say? Or not? Because flu's really painful, right?
Yeah. And I got really ill February 2020 for 12 days. I had a similar thing. I was coughing up stuff, but at the time I went to the doctors. They said, no, it's just a VI. RUS. Don't worry about it. I said, it's not the Rona, is it? They were like, no, it's not here. But I was so bad. It was like 10 to 12 days. I was really bad. I'd actually gone to Italy in January 2020 for 3 days, and I was ill on the Christmas of 2020 as well. So I didn't have a start. I didn't have a good start to 2020 or anything. So I that's why I got, like, because with my job, I speak to the Italian market, and I was speaking to Italians who were saying, we were getting locked down here and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I believed it. And I was very mainstream at the time. I trusted the BBC. I used to watch Man United fan channels for 3 hours, sometimes about matches. I don't do any of that anymore. So yeah, it's very mainstream. And the point is, going back to how I felt on recently, the different pains that I had up until, I'd say, New Year's Day, the day after. I didn't really have a cough,
right,
or a bit of a snotty nose, but not really a cough. Excuse me. So once I started getting a cough, it just got worse and worse. And there were days where I'd not be listening to anything, not checking my phone, just staring at the ceiling, because I had this like pain in my head, and it's like kind of like, when you're thirsty, you need water, and you get that headache. So I thought it was that, but that it never went away. I kept drinking and drinking, never went away. It felt like I had a boxing match going on in my head.
Yeah. Wow.
But then the coughing started, and every time I'd get out of bed, I think I went downstairs 4 times in that time, and every time I went down there, I felt dizzy and just had to come back upstairs and lie down. And I was in bed. It was the only place I felt comfortable. Either I sat down in the shower or in bed.
I remember that feeling, mate. It's awful. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So obviously I was getting weaker and weaker, and I was eating less, and my legs felt like jelly, and then so on the 5th, I rang my GP up, and they said, because my work needed a doctor's notes. Had a chat with them, told them the symptoms, all of this kind of stuff, and they just said, well, you're coming towards the end of it, just stay at home, and we'll give you a doctor's note for another 7 days or something. But the next day, on the 6th of January, I woke up and I was literally coughing up blood, big lumps of blood, and I was like, right, I ain't getting any better here. This is bad. So and I was feeling really feeble and weak at this point. So I called 111, and the ambulance turned up within an hour.
Wow.
And I was in the ambulance within an hour and a half, maybe. It was very quick. They didn't take long to put me in there. So about an hour and a half, and I found myself on the way to the JR in Oxford, John Radcliffe. So I get there. I arrive at about 11:30 in the morning, and they put me into a waiting room kind of room. And like I said on the speech, it was a bit uncomfortable in there, considering how I felt, where I'd been in bed and nice and comfy and warm. Because I was shivering a lot as well. So they had the windows open. It was freezing.
Yeah.
Luckily, I took I went to hospital in my dressing gown and my slippers. I forgot my trainers. So I went.
Good on you, mate.
I even said to my missus, I was like, are you going to pick me up later? Can you bring my trainers? Like, and then privately, the paramedic said, he's not going to be coming back later today. You'll be in there for a while. So,
at least you were wishful thinking. You had a positive mental attitude going in. I'm very proud of you.
always. I'm a Leo at heart, so
Claire must have been like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna, yeah, babe, of course I'll bring you trainers. Oh God, I'm not gonna see you for a few days, bless her.
Yeah. So anyway, I was in this waiting room and sat. So they gave me a test in the ambulance, and the guy was actually one of the guys I didn't particularly like. He had his opinions why I didn't have the, and the other one was fine. So he was quite gentle with the test. The first one I ever had, I thought that was it. I wouldn't need another one. Then in the waiting room, pretty much straight away, they did another one, and I said, I just had one, and where do you need another one? You got to do another one. So this is the protocol. So this is basically the warning that I have. So you will get that as standard, whatever you go in the hospital for whatever reason, whether it's a sprained wrist or anything. So they're gonna test you, and if you come back positive, then they've got a protocol to give you. So this will go on to, the warning that, depending how fit and healthy you are going in there, is your likelihood of getting out of there, basically. And so so whilst I was waiting in that room, I had the test. They took me down for a CT scan, and I had a few doctors come and talk to me. They all had their opinions about why I didn't have this. Every single one of them made a comment, and especially in that room, and also the next room that I went into. And so one of the doctors came in and had a chat with me. She was very calm. She sat next to me, and at the end of that conversation, she mentioned that I should have this.
Yeah, we can see that. Thank you.
Yeah, and also this. Good luck trying to pronounce it, because I can't. Okay. I tried to say it on the speech. And
you did a good job, actually, to be fair.
It's just yeah. I normally speak 2.5 languages, so I'm normally good at pronouncing things, but not that one. Yeah, so they offered me that, and she casually.
What was their reason for offering you that? Was that their only protocol, or do you remember, babe?
No, they said that that's what they're treating now for, and they didn't have it at first in 2020, and funnily enough, November the 20th, 2020, the World Health Organization actually wrote a piece on their website, an article, and they don't recommend it for treatment. So this is, the organizations that they look to. You have to understand, I'm not saying everyone in that hospital is in on this conspiracy, but there are hierarchies, and they follow orders. The so-called respected organizations such as the WHO, the CDC, and all of this. We know they're all got certain 2 investment companies behind them. We know who they are. If you don't know who they are, just type in any major company and look who's the biggest shareholders. You'll see one begins with a B, one begins with a V. And anyway, so they don't recommend it from November the 20th, 2020. So the amount of information that we've gone through over the last 2 years, I think I've learned enough to last me 10, 20 years. But that sort of triggered something in my mind when she mentioned it. So for 5 minutes there, I was like contemplating whether I should take this or not. And then I thought, hold on a minute. I'm going to go on BitChute and type it in, just the word, and see what comes up. So I did that. 10 results come up. And one of the results, is, I think it's in the first two, was this 17-minute video with Dr. Barry Ardis. And he's speaking, it's like a clipped section at the Reawaken America tour that, the likes of Dr. Barry Ardis do, and what's her name, Dundas, and I forgot her first name, sorry, if you ever get to watch it, and Lee Dundas, that's it, and Dr. Rainer Fulmick. So those kind of doctors that are, going against the mainstream narrative. So I watched this video, and he basically goes through loads of statistics, and I didn't even mention this on the Freedom Rally, but the amount of side effects, not just death, is multiple side effects, and a lot of them have the same kind of symptoms that you would have from the Rona. So why on earth would you take something that has side effects that match the same symptoms as the Rona? So if any of those side effects kick in, you're going to get worse, right?
Not connecting.
Yeah. So I watched this video, and in that video he mentions that they did a study. This is US stats, right? So if I'm not 100%, go and watch that video, type it in on BitChute. But he does say that 54% of the patients who were treated with that died. So that's more than half, right? So that's not very good numbers. So, so I've watched this video, I hear that, I then think, look, I'm weak here, I've hardly eaten anything. I can control my lungs, right, with oxygen, breathe in, you sleep on the side. Well, I learned this as time went on, but sleep on the side, do that way, and it opens up your lungs, so you can kind of, I've got over bad chesty coughs before, so you can semi-control how your lungs work. But the kidneys and the liver and everything else, things that you don't feel or function, you got no control over those, right? So if I was to take that, which has the potential, which basically shuts down your kidney and liver functions, then I think I would have been in a serious mess, and I don't think I would have made it to the rest of the week or Monday, because I was that weak at that point. I could hardly speak. So Dr. Barry Ardis basically says that this causes pulmonary edema, and what they're doing is calling it pneumonia from corona. Oh, was that the Corona beers? The lovely Corona beer on a Friday night.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry. Crumbs.
It was always going to happen.
Yeah. Well, maybe they pick up on like 3 or 4, and they're like, "Ooh, we've got one here." But yeah, so what that does is the kidneys start shutting down, your liver starts shutting down, and you're not able to filter your own water, to turn into urine and whatever. And what happens, it starts building up in your lungs, and you drown. And so when you get to a serious stage of that, they put you in the ICU, they put you on the ventilator, and then you can't deal with it because of your kidneys have shut down.
And actually, what I understand is that ventilation actually going like down and into your throat and into your lungs is actually really, really bad for pneumonia anyway, full stop. That's what I understand anyway. So let's let me just go back really, really slightly.
Sure.
During this period of time, you were on the oxygen up your nose, weren't you?
Yeah. So at this point, so at this point, I'm still in the waiting room. So I just had the little oxygen connected to the hospital wall.
Yeah.
Then so the nurse came in a couple of hours later. They tried to give me that.
Yeah. And what was their reaction to you saying no to it?
He was really confused. He was like, "What? Why?" I said, I don't want it. I never agreed to it. I don't want it. And he was like, "Oh, okay. I'll go and speak with the doctor." So he just put it down on the table where the little table that you have your food there, and left. But he never came back, and no doctor immediately came back to say what was going on. They kind of left it for an hour or two. So I can't remember the times in details, but by the time I got moved, it was about 9 o'clock at night. So I got in there at 11:30, got moved into my second room at 9 o'clock at night. So after I don't know, an hour or two, another doctor came in, asked why I didn't want it. I said that I just don't want it. I know what the side effects it does, and I just don't want it. He was like, okay. And then they offered me this one.
Bring it a bit closer so people can see.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you. Perfect.
And this one has similar kind of side effects. They treat it for people with arthritis, and sorry, it's an alarm. They treat that with people with arthritis. That also is called an immunosuppressor. So it shuts down your immune system. Why on earth would I shut down my immune system? So I read up on it, and funny enough, there's not much on BitChute, but there is one 7-minute video, and it's a little conversation between the doctor and some interviewer, and they call it that in that video the bottom word. That's the American name for it.
Right.
Yeah. And luckily that was there. That was, I think, in fact, that was the only one that really gave me enough information to say, no, I don't want that either.
Wow.
And that's pretty dangerous, but there's not that much information in terms of its dangers that I could find on BitChute anyway. But that, like I said, that was enough information for me to decide to decline that as well.
But they respected your wishes, did they, not to take these things, or did you feel that they were kind of like, well, we're just not going to help you? How was that it from there, babe?
No, they I had different doctors giving me their spiel every time. So it's like I kind of think like, I haven't done it. Your turn next. They go in and they're like, hey, and then because each one had a different approach and a different way of trying to sell me the benefits, and it is selling, because Dr. Brian Ardis talks about this, and he says that they do have financial incentives. Knowing what we know, every country, every major Western country is in the same bed with the organizations that we all know about. So of course they've got financial incentives. We know this. Like I said, the hierarchy, there'll be certain positions that will be pushing that more than say the nurses. I don't think the nurses will have too much idea of what's going on there. They eventually moved me into another room, and I had to share the next room with 2 other patients. So I spent one night in there. One of them, poor guy, he was chatting to himself all night. I don't think he was quite there. And another old man. but they monitored me overnight, and at this point I was only on the, you know, like the standard oxygen.
Yeah.
But my oxygen levels were really low, so they said, no, we need to move you into the Osler respiratory unit. So when I woke up, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, got woken up because they come in, blood test. I said it on a speech there that this doctor that took my blood did it really painfully, like, and it really hurt. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have the best night's sleep. Obviously the guy was chatting to himself. Didn't eat that much food, hardly anything, just these little onshore drinks. So I'm feeling really weak. I've obviously spent my first night in the hospital. I get woken up, I get poked with a bad, you know, taking my blood. And I'm pretty concerned about where I am, what's going on, knowing that there are all these certain things that they're trying to give me. And I was having a few conversations with people, and some were saying, you know, you should get out of there. You need to get out of there. So I was thinking, maybe I should get out of here, because I didn't feel like, safe. You know, I got wheeled, as I got wheeled into this next room. I couldn't believe it. Like, obviously, you know, I've kind of said what I know, how long I've been on this particular journey. To get wheeled into a room which says COVID. Sorry. C19 red zone.
Oh, wow.
I was like, is this really happening to me?
Oh, wow.
It was like, you know, everyone's got PPE on, they got the visors, you know, and everyone's speaking to you as well. You go, like, they don't know what, you know, you can't read their lips. So I generally speak to people that haven't got these things on. But, you know, today's the day that they're supposed to get rid of it, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's still
okay. So we're still within the first 24 hours of being in hospital at the moment, right? So
yeah,
it's quite a busy 24 hours for you. Lots of prodding and poking, lots of I'm going to call it coercion. It's probably going to aggravate some people, but lots of attempting to get you to take things that you perhaps weren't in alignment with.
Oh yeah. I was definitely, you know, it wasn't like, are you okay? Like, they know, the nurses, yeah, like, you know, do you want some water and all of this, but the doctors go straight in and into their spiel. It's not like, you know, he's asking. It was not. There was one doctor that was quite nice, and he was the doctor that went through my CT scan.
Yeah.
But they were still all had their opinions about this, and that said I should have had it and all of this kind of stuff. You know, and I kept my mouth quiet, because obviously I wasn't at any
but also,
I didn't want to agitate him anymore, and that was
also, like I said before we came on this video, this isn't about division. Like, people can make their own choices. It doesn't matter, without being disrespectful, what you think or what I think. It's about people making the decision for themselves and their family and going along with that, like, and just owning it. There shouldn't be any judgment if you decide to, or you decide not to take it, from my perspective, you know. And this
like, it's always been till the last couple of years.
Exactly. It's only in the last 14 months where all of a sudden it's become a big deal. Before that, you would be caught up on data protection if you'd asked somebody their medical records. And let's not forget that, like, we've come in 14 months, people have literally just given over every bit of information, you know, and there's certain people that are like, whoa, this is a little bit too much. And then there's other people that are like, oh, just get on with it and just do it, because, you know, we'll get out of this. But hopefully by now people are realizing we're not getting out of this. You know, this is a much bigger picture that is taking place. So go on.
Sorry, so on that note, funnily enough, I read an article today that on the 8th of March, they're trying to update the Human Rights Act.
A couple of people have sent that to me. I don't believe it. We've seen it before. We've seen it before in the last 12 months, that as well. Again, I don't buy into that vibration. You know, it might happen on some people's timeline. not happening on mine.
Okay, that's good.
But it's exactly the same thing that I was sent probably about 6 months ago, saying that it was going through. So, you know, things are changing so much right now, you know, it really is just changing, and we have to buy into that to be part of the change, or we're holding ourselves and our families back.
Yeah.
So we're on the 7th of January now, and you're obviously in there. I don't know what day I found out about you, but I found out maybe day 1, day 2, day 3 that you'd been in hospital.
Yeah.
And obviously it hadn't been comfortable for you. You'd been on this oxygen, you'd been, you know, people had been attempting to get you to take this and do that. You hadn't been able to eat. You were feeling weak. You just wanted to get the heck out of there and get back to your family, but you knew you needed some support to get through it, right? So when did you actually get released?
Well, can I just say a bit more about that? Those first 48 hours really are like the key. So kind of on that morning when they went through the CT scan, had a few more doctors, you know, trying to get me to take both of these. Yeah. And in the end, they decided that I needed to be moved to my own room, and they moved me to the Oslo respiratory unit, where they put me on really like a different nozzle. So that there's like a thin nozzle, and then there's this like chunky one for your nose, and they have this machine that they can notch it up to certain percentages. So I started off on like 70% on that Friday after they moved me in there, and you know, like I still had another few doctors come in trying to do that. I think by the Friday night they'd got it. They're like, he ain't taking it. So
we're wasting our time.
That stopped. So I think it's because they finally got me into a room, and on the heavier oxygen, I agreed to take I'll tell you what it is. Can I say these words?
No, I wouldn't.
No. Well, I can spell it. Can I spell it out? Yeah. So the one that I end up taking, when I think is no, I can't remember which one is the steroid. It could be this one. DEXAMETHOZONE. And the antibiotic is CO-AMOXICLAV. So I took those, and the oxygen. That's all that I had from them.
And when did you start to feel a bit better? Because obviously me and my tribe did a load of healing work on you. As soon as I heard about it, I went into little nurse mode, action mode, and did a load of healing on you. When did you start to feel better?
Yeah, so just going back to, you know, the only person that knew I was ill was from the 28th to the 6th was my missus, and I didn't, you know, obviously don't tell people I'm really ill.
You don't, do you? You don't. Until now, apparently.
like there's, you know, I didn't reply to Happy New Year's or anything like that. You know, this is all at that time.
Yeah.
I did see a firework from the window. But so when all you guys started messaging me, so I'm going through these first 48 hours of you know, being in the belly of the beast, and all the messages and the support, I was like, oh yeah, what I didn't say is that the doctor said if I didn't take these, I would end up in the ICU for a couple of months. And I said to them, there is no way I'm spending 2 months in the ICU. I'll be out in a few days. And they'll be like, minimum you'll be in here over a week. And I was like, okay, we'll see. Because like I said, you know, I even at that point, I had no fear of the Rona. I knew I had something wrong with my lungs. you know. So they diagnosed me with severe COVID. Oh.
I'll just block it out. I'll mute it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Pneumonitis, aka the DELTA variant, right? So yeah, so that was the diagnosis, and that was on my discharge. So anyway, I was, you know, on the Saturday night I was on the oxygen, and bit by bit it was coming down. On the Sunday I started to feel like I was controlling it. They tried to put me on the CPAP mask.
Yeah.
I did that for an hour. I complained. I was like, get this off me. It's giving me a headache. And he said, okay, we'll give you a rest. But then at 1 o'clock in the morning, we'll come and give you it till 4. And I was like, I want to go to sleep, but he still came in. But in fact, that was the only time I had sort of like a bit of a back and forth with the nurse. Turns out I had a good conversation with him actually a few days later, and I actually told him about some of the stuff for the only nurse, because he asked some questions and I gave him some answers. But yeah, in the end, after the second time they put it on, it lasted an hour. I was like, look, I can't sleep. Get this thing off me. I want the nose thing back, which was still really loud and uncomfortable. Like, you know, it's like when you're trying to sleep, it's like you can hear it vibrating in your head. Yeah. So cut a long story short, I started to improve, and then Monday 6 p.m. roughly they took me off the oxygen, and from then until I got discharged around about 2 p.m. on the Wednesday the 12th, I didn't need the oxygen. They just monitored me, a few more blood tests, still took the antibiotics, that kind of thing.
Amazing. So you were in there less than a week?
6 days, yeah.
6 days, just under a week. So your determination of getting out before the week, you succeeded on. Well done.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what was happening from our side is obviously you'd been in hospital, I think, for a day or two, when our good friend Alpa Sunny reached out to me and was like, oh my gosh, he's in hospital. So I think that's when I messaged you and just said, baby, you open to me doing some healing on you?
Yeah.
And at that point, I went in and did an hour's work on you myself, and then I got my Self-Love Club with Lucy Davis group on Facebook to hold space and I went back in that evening. If you
thank you everybody if you're watching.
Yeah, honestly,
you got me out.
Honestly, everyone's been commenting on my video. They're like, oh my god, it's so good to see him alive and well and healthy, and oh my god, it's so beautiful. You know, it's really beautiful. So from our perspective, so what's very interesting is Adie's actually the second person that I have set the intention I'm going to go and do some healing work on, and I've actually jumped in their body. Was with that, and so I just said to Adie, just relax.
You could have gone to the toilet for me.
Sorry,
I'd use these little peeing machines.
I kind of thought breathing was more important at that point. You know, I weighed up the options, mate. I weighed up the options. Yeah. So, and what was so interesting is after I'd done this hour, and I was gone for an hour, like literally an hour to the dot, pretty much. I was gone. And then when I came back into my body, I messaged you and you were like, oh my God, I feel the best I felt in a long time, you know? And so I'm like, oh, thank God for that. But we knew we had more work to do with you. Yeah. So, you know, you really surrendered yourself at that point to just be like, I'll do whatever it takes to get me out of here. And I just wanted to say a huge kudos for you for doing that, because had you been in panic, had you actually gone and allowed all of these people to get inside of your head, it could have been a very different outcome.
Oh yes. I mean, definitely. Like when I really think about it, if I didn't know the information that I knew, I didn't get the assistance or support from the likes of you and other great people like Alpa and my family and my missus. Who knows? Yeah. Like I said, I was very weak at that point, and I don't think I would have been able to handle those things that they tried to offer me.
And I think this is the most important part of the message to get out today is when you are in that situation, if you ever find yourself in that situation, remain strong and research.
And also, if you're a next of kin of anyone, or you know anyone that is a next of kin that has someone, friend or family going in that, like I said, the protocol is they will give you a test, and then they will offer these treatments, especially if you've not had this. I think they have different protocols for different people. So, you know, like I said, they'll look at the, you know, my age, the stats, and they'll think, oh, put him on that.
Of course. So what I mean, we've got to be so grateful, right, that you're here. You're an absolute success story. You've been through hell, for want of a better word, but you've come out and you're shining. And we know, like I think we spoke about it on Saturday, you know that this message is your responsibility to now deliver to the world in the way that suits yourself and many other people, so that they can take this and use it if they need to. Let's pray that people don't need to, but you know, it's always good to have information, other people that have been in a similar circumstance who have come through it and got out of it, you know. And I just think it's inspiring.
Thank you. But the like I'm just one person. The main guy that people should really look into if they really want to find out, you know, all the information. You know, I don't know everything off the top of my head, but Dr. Bryan Ardis, Bryan, find his interviews on BitChute, find them on Rumble, go to his website. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's Dr. Bryan. It's really important because he goes, yeah, the Dr. Ardis show. He has resources there, and when you go on resources, especially if you're in the United States, because you've probably got an audience in the US, he has resources there that the protocol is different there in the United States. You don't basically have a say what they give you, but if you go in there with a document that you can print off his website and hand that in, it's like a signed document. It basically cancels out legally on a legal way. So yeah, Dr. Bryan Ardis is the biggest voice in this, because he has personal experience where his father-in-law went through the same treatment by taking that. He just went into hospital with the Rona and he never came out of it. And I think this is why Dr. Bryan Ardis is the biggest voice in this. And I think this is the pandemic.
I think personally, I agree with you on that, but I also feel that there's other ones that have been before.
Yeah.
The one beginning with M, for example, that was obviously
in the care homes.
Yeah, that was the start of it. And then there's been things that have happened since. So I guess, really long story short, ladies and gents watching this, you've got to have your wits about you.
Yeah.
Do your research, reach out to people like Adi that you know might be able to give you some hope or some inspiration or something like that. And do remember, the best way that you can protect yourself right now is spending time in nature, breathing properly, do breathing exercises, eating really good foods, drinking the best quality water that you can possibly get your hands on, doing a little bit of exercise each and every day. Do make sure that you are, having the conversations that you need to have. Make sure that people know your wishes and your choices, so that if, God forbid, you find yourself in this situation, you've got people who can speak on behalf of you. I think it's very important. Is there any other nuggets that you think would help people, Adi?
Yeah, there's a guy, I've got my mum to thank for this. There's a guy called James Nestor, Nestor, James Nestor. And he does breathing techniques. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
yeah, he's connected to, like, you know, Wim Hof and that kind of thing. And yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos, and there are, you know, a couple of interviews that he's done as well. Really interesting guy. Basically says that anybody, doesn't matter what your physical state, age, or anything, as long as you've got the mental strength, you can learn to hold your breath up to 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it does like free diving and all this. So there are breathing techniques. I did a few more in the first few days. Kind of need to get back on it a bit. You know, still building the strength up, but I will personally try to do more Wim Hof showers, that kind of thing, and grounding and breathing techniques. You know, things that I would never even thought of a few years ago. Like,
I use Wim Hof every single day. There's a breathing technique that he does. I do it every single day, and I have done for many, many, many years. People think I'm crazy, but honestly, you can really change everything in your body, whether it be a mood that you're in, your emotional trauma, like everything can be changed by breath. So I think it's an amazing thing that you found it. Perhaps not a great way to find it, but I'm really pleased that you have.
And only breathe through your nose.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that he says. You know, sometimes I breathe through my mouth, and that's how you get out of breath. Excuse me, out of breath quicker.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I'm now consciously only breathing from my nose, and when I do breathe through my mouth, I know, you know,
really notice
take a breath there. Like,
amazing.
No one saw.
No one's checking. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for jumping on, babe. I know it's been a really, really tricky ride for you at this first month of 2020, but it's all about to get better.
22.
It's all just going to be a rocket.
Alpa did that as well. She said 2020. You've just done it as well.
2022.
Yeah, it's 2022.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
2022.
I know.
I don't mind though. I
always love it.
This year was going to be.
I bet you're looking forward to the 2nd of February and the 22nd of February.
Well, my birthday's the 2nd and my sister's the 22nd.
Of February?
Yes.
Get out of here. Really?
I'm not kidding you.
Oh my gosh.
It was written in the stars, mate. We were always going to be powerful. We just didn't know it when we were younger. Yes, it's my birthday next Wednesday.
Is it? Wow. What are you doing for it? Or is that too personal?
Well, I'm actually doing Reiki this weekend coming in Devon and Bristol. So I'm going to go and do some really beautiful work. I've been called to a place in Cornwall, so I'm going to go there, do a little bit of, you know, my woo-woo stuff. And then I'm going to spend some time with some of my best friends. My mum's coming up for the day on the 3rd. So, you know, just really nice stuff. I'm actually taking a week off work though.
Great.
Well, I say a week. I'm working on Tuesday. Because I've had meetings booked in, so I'm like, damn it. But the rest of the week I'll be off. But yeah, I'm excited, babe. This year's going to be such a biggie. It really is. And I feel that we're going to be doing more videos at some point as well.
Yeah, I did quite a few in 2020.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the time, the talk of everything, things didn't quite pan out the way I thought they were, so I took a break from that. You know, just carried on doing the marches and more like local stuff like rebels and roundabouts. I think that's been a great thing.
It's really amazing. They've achieved such good things, right?
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. Locally, I've made some great friends, and you know, it's all well going on a Saturday to London when they're not there, like, you know, the scumbags. But you know, it's good as a visual thing, and it's fun to do, and it's build the vibration. But I think definitely the actions that I've taken locally over the last 6 months, from the summer up until now, has really given an awareness across the board, across this country. You know, from Truro to, you know, up there, so Scotland. So I was trying to think of a small place in Scotland, Aberdeen or something. You know, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it really has brought an awareness. Obviously, some people that drive past, they're not too happy about it, but when you hear the beeps and everything, it's great.
You're never going to keep everybody happy.
No,
you're never going to keep everybody happy. So, we've just got to be authentic, and that's for everybody. If you are, if you think that this video is crazy and we don't know what we're talking about, that's absolutely fine. You're allowed your opinion. However, so are we. That's the whole point of this. We're all allowed to have our own opinions, and we just gravitate towards the people that do have the same opinions as us, and we build a community based off of that, which I think is happening really beautifully locally, which I think was your point. So Adi, thank you so much, babe. Ladies and gents, do remember to give this a thumbs up. Do remember to share it with anybody who might benefit from watching this, and do comment below, and we will come back to you as soon as we possibly can. All right, ladies and gents, have the most beautiful day, and we'll catch you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.